welcome back. We're back for one of the last two blocks in the Zen Garden series, and this time we have what I would call a hummingbird in there. It's a little bit thick for a hummingbird, but I'm not one to comment on that because I'm a little bit thick myself. But I would definitely say, because of the beak, that this is a hummingbird. But those of you who look at it, you could comment on what kind of a bird you think it might be yourself. Some of you may have a varying opinion about that. But today we're going to be working on this one. This was our last block from last month. That one had a dragonfly. Maybe in the break I'll see if I can find out where the hummingbird got its name. But I have my background block already pulled out. I'm going to iron that in a second. And I'll pull out my paper pattern, my placement guide. And I'm going to dry iron that as well. I never keep water in my iron, and I'm going to dry iron my paper pattern just to get the creases out, because I don't want those creases to translate into me placing one of my pattern pieces in the wrong place. So while I get all that together, why don't you come a little bit closer, and then we can all get started on this together. In each of our kits, you'll find a full color cover sheet in the front of the package. In this little box here, you'll see everything that's inside the package in the color that you'll find inside. In the back, you're going to see all of the fabric that's actually in the kit. These are all of the components of that block. And you'll notice that it's the actual fabric that's already pre-cut. It's laser cut. It's pre-fused with Steam 2, so each piece is 3 layers. It's fabric, fusible material, and a paper backing. Then there's also a instruction sheet that explains exactly how this works step by step. There's also a full-size pattern sheet, and then all of the pieces, as I said. So we have the color sheet here that can help us when we are confused, because some of these, like, there's a lot of circles, some of them are similar sizes, and the color sheet could just help you figure out which color goes where. So I'm just going to turn my light on. I have some of these items pulled out of the package so that we can get a good idea of where each of these goes. I don't think I figured out where that circle goes. Oh, it goes in the middle of the flower, that's why. So our pattern is here, and we can see that the body of the bird goes first and then the wings on top of it. But we could also see that the bird is on top of the flower, so the flower would be a good place to start. And as I said last month, sometimes when these pieces are compound pieces like this, it's easier to take the background off, and we could just put the layers on one at a time, starting at the top. So once we get one piece, the second top piece in place, we can go ahead and put the circle on it, because we can see the circle now through that one piece of fabric. And these are repositionable, so I am going to reposition that, because I don't think that's the right size. I think it's this blue. That's the nice thing about Steam 2. All of these pieces are repositionable up until the point that we fuse them down. So I'm going to do that piece. Now this compound piece I can go ahead and take aside and figure out where this goes. This will take me a few turns. And then when I see where that goes, I can go ahead and put this in place. Now I can pull this aside, and when I get ready to place it on the background, I know all these top two pieces are ready. So I'll go ahead and put my background fabric back in place, more or less. And I'll go ahead and put this in place now. I always try and look for one of the distinct features of one of the petals to try and figure out exactly where it goes. They always seem just a little bit contrary for me. And now I'm going to do the body of Mr. Hummingbird. You might notice that I'm always putting my papers that I peel off together in one place. In the past, I've had these papers drop on the floor, and they do have a little bit of residual tackiness from the Steam-A-Seam 2, and they really can stick to the floor a little bit if they fall sticky side down. I have a tile floor here. They probably wouldn't do that with carpeting. But if they fall sticky side down, it's hard to sweep them up. So I like to just collect them on a piece of paper. That way they don't have the opportunity to stick to my floor. That way I don't have to bend over and actually pick them up. I'm going to start down here at the bottom of my feathers and work my way up, which should do wonders for my back, right? I love the colors in this today. All of these blue greens. Well, the whole color set on this whole quilt is wonderful. It really reminds me of a project that I started years ago that was hand applique that never really got that far. I think I only got 2 or 3 blocks in. Hand applique takes so long. I know the center block took me almost 2 months on that. And this is why this kind of project is so wonderful, when you can get so much done on a project in such a short time. I always used to talk to people at the shows, and people would come in and they would talk about how they had started making quilts for their grandkids, their kids, and then their grandkids. And at first there was the first grandchild and then the second grandchild. But sometimes as they go on, they've got like 18 grandchildren. And who can hand applique 18 quilts for 18 grandchildren? Not everyone has the time for that. So, you know, people needed a way to make beautiful applique projects in a timely fashion and still have these heirlooms to be able to pass down. So this is why these projects work so well for so many people. I mean, let's face it, we all run out of steam at some point in our life. Also, I always think about just the holidays, you know. I remember last year, Doug Lecko, who's a fabric designer, he's also a pattern writer and a book publisher. He works for Moda. And on his Facebook page, he was putting out photos every day during the month of December of Christmas quilts, and they were so beautiful. It made me so envious of all the beautiful quilts. And he had several every day, several photos of Christmas themed quilts. And that made me want to have new Christmas quilts like that all year round. So I said to myself that this year, I was going to try and make 2 Christmas quilts a month for the whole year so that I could have a big collection like that as well. So far I've made 1, and we're more than halfway through the year, 3/4 of the way. But that's what's nice about these also, because hand applique project, really, you know, it could take you a whole year to do one project. And if you wanted to, you could sit down by yourself or with a couple friends and do every block in this kit in one evening. So you really could have seasonal quilts to change out. And we have a ton of seasonal quilts to offer. The kits are beautiful. So that's one of the other benefits of having these applique that are so easy to finish and, well, start and finish, really. So there you have it. You can see in real time that these go really quickly. Might even go quicker if I wasn't jabber-jawing, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and switch out my light box for my Teflon pressing sheet, because now I can go ahead and get ready for the fusing stage. Keep in mind that up until this point, all of these pieces are still repositionable. You can see that they're still loose, they're not fused. And we are ready to do the fusing at this point. So I have my block laid down on a piece of Teflon pressing sheet. They don't have to be on top of one. I just have one large enough that I'm able to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and use a spray bottle that has just plain water in it, tap water, and I'm just going to mist it from the top. The reason I'm misting it is because A, I don't have any water in my iron. I keep a dry iron. And B, Steam-A-Seam 2, as the name indicates, requires moisture, water, steam, in order to activate the fusible. Just like concrete requires water to set up the concrete, so does Steam-A-Seam 2 require water, steam, moisture to activate that fusible web and bond the two pieces of fabric. So you absolutely have to use steam or a mist bottle or something in order to get those fusible web activated. And also you really want to make sure that you're activating that fully with the steam and with enough time to let that activate between both pieces of fabric. I have to let the heat transfer through the Teflon pressing sheet and through every layer of fabrics and Steam-A-Seam 2, fabric, Steam-A-Seam 2. And when I get done doing this from the top down, I'm going to flip this over and spray the back of it, and I'm also going to iron it again from that side again, just to make sure that we're fully activating that Steam-A-Seam 2. You can't over iron Steam-A-Seam 2. It's not going to somehow evaporate or dissipate or just magically disappear. You can't get rid of it. You would burn your fabric long before you would ever get rid of your Steam-A-Seam 2. But that's another benefit of the Teflon pressing sheet. It prevents your fabric from getting scorched. This Teflon pressing sheet also prevents anything from transferring from the fabric to the sole plate of the iron, just in case there was any little bit of Steam-A-Seam 2 poking out the edge. But it also prevents anything from the sole plate from transferring onto your fabric. In case you had gotten a little piece of plastic or glue on the sole plate, you don't want that on your fabric either. And the other thing I like about it is it protects the edges of my applique, because sometimes I'll push the iron sideways because my mind's lazy, and I will catch the edge of the applique and it will scrunch up under the sole plate and I can't see it, and then I will have ironed a big scrunch in my applique. And I, like most people, do not like scrunches in my applique shapes. So that is from one side, and I can see there's still some moisture there, but I'm going to go ahead and respray it from the back, because we want to really make sure we're activating all of the layers of the Steam-A-Seam 2 And so we'll go ahead and redo this from the back as well, because we want to make sure each part of the process is finished. And from the back side with this, I don't need to have the pressing sheet on top, but I certainly could. But also, as long as I can see steam rising up from the fabric, I know that there's still a little bit of moisture in there. If we make sure that we've bonded this correctly at this point, we know that this bond is permanent. Steam Seam 2 does not require any top stitching if you bond correctly at this stage. So this could be used on clothing or like an apron without a need for top stitching, and it is washable and dryable while maintaining its permanence. And for my little Google information, most hummingbirds beat their wings 60 to 80 times per second, and they get their name from the humming sound that their wings make as they fly. So that's very interesting. This is our finished block for the month, and that's going to be block number 11. We only have one more to go, and then we'll be putting these together, and I'm really thinking very thin sashing, but we'll see when we get there. Anyway, I really appreciate you spending some time with me today. Sometimes it gets pretty lonely around here, so I do appreciate you dropping in. Until we see you again the next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.